So, figured I'd do a little ironic rant, being a technologist and a technology junkie and expert through experience, not through reading alone, we'll say. Technology is a problem because doesn't have to, but it can remove jobs. And what we've seen is technology removing jobs. Now, it removes jobs from the lower end and replaces them with jobs at the quote higher end. The problem with this theory is that you can't actually do that because higher end jobs, by their nature, by design, by definition, by how we deal with this, are necessarily jobs that require enhanced intelligences of various types. Maybe not IQ. I don't believe in IQ. I think IQ is garbage. Nassim Taleb talks about this. Great measure of stupidity, but a lot of things are. Poor measure of smartness. Above the average, we'll say, actually, from slightly below the average to up above the average. So the number of people that can do a job that would require technology and therefore enable people to work less gets smaller and smaller as that technology gets more sophisticated. But as you spread the technology out, you need more of those people. So there's an inherent trade-off there that is a problem. There's only so much training that you can do. So what ends up happening is the technology splits. And, you can take something like AI. You can say, AI works in this certain way, which it certainly does. And you can say, well, we can split the AI into data science component, algorithm component, training component, and then training data people, right? People who check the training data. So that's 4 professions instead of like 1. Now, I happen to be able to do all of those things. Maybe it's a waste of time for me to do some of them because I can do all of them and some of them are more valuable than others. Now we start to see the problem, or at least a problem. And how many other people can do those things? Good question. Not as many as can do other things. And how many people can be trained to do them? Same issue. There's a curve there. I don't know where it is. I'm not claiming to understand it. I'm just saying definitely a curve. You can definitely see that as things get more complex, the number of people that can do them or be employed by them get smaller and smaller. But as you deploy that technology more, you still need more of those people. Now, there's an economy of scale. So maybe 1,000 more AIs can be serviced by the same 10 people, but they help 1,000 more people that can't be helped. But that doesn't do you much good if you need to scale in the millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions or billions, right? And so AI accelerates this process of, although it doesn't look like it at first, accelerates this process of moving jobs away from lower class people who may need those jobs. By the way, what if people need jobs? Like, what if they need to feel like they're useful? And when you automate things, they feel less useful because they are. And we could argue about that, but I wouldn't if I were you because you're wrong and that would suck. And then the cost of that is that we need to find people who are more and more able to do more and more complex things. And there's a finite number of those. And the more complex the thing, the fewer of them there are. And oh, by the way, there's only so much you can reduce complexity. And therefore, eventually you run out of people that can do that work well. So what happens? Well, I think we've already seen this in software engineering, where we've just shoved people who cannot be ever good software engineers into the task of software engineering, and then made software engineering, say, cheaper and easier at the trade-off of DevOps, which I've talked about before, right? Which is infrastructure engineering. So when you make the infrastructure more complicated or complex, like you do with something like Kubernetes, which is a ridiculous splitting of regular OS knowledge, what ends up happening is the DevOps engineers make $250,000 a year. The software engineers make $80,000 a year, and all the software sucks. All the software is broken. Also, you removed a whole class of jobs, which actually requires a fair bit of intelligence, called QA. A good QA engineer is so rare that if you find one, you should keep them forever and pay them whatever they ask. You can't make QA easy. Thinking up ways to break software is actually hard. It's not as hard as writing software, maybe, or at least not as hard as being a good software engineer. Difference, big difference. But it's really hard, actually. I'm really good at breaking software. I'm really good at a lot of things with software, but that's because I'm me and I'm different. Most people can't do good QA. Most people can't do good software engineering. Most people can't do any software architecture. Most people can't do good infrastructure engineering. Most people can't do any infrastructure architecture. Most people can't do good data science. Most people can't do good UI engineering. I can't do good UI engineering. Most people can't be really good software engineers. Most people can't debug. Most good software engineers can't do good debugging. There's a limited number of people with these talents. And when you need more of them, because, I don't know, you have way too many software companies and way too many releases, then your software doesn't get tested correctly and therefore it doesn't work. It's a good hint that maybe you have a problem. Maybe your AI enables a bunch of people to do a bunch of things, but actually you need more people to manage that, and you can only train so many. Maybe. Not making a claim here. Oh, no, wait. I'll make a bunch of claims. Everything I've said is true. Everything I said is evident and observable. If you're careful and you just look around and realize, oh, wait, there's a problem here. You can see it in the job market, actually. The fact that good DevOps engineers are making $250 while even really good software engineers are not making that much is a good indication that the required talent switched from software engineering to infrastructure engineering, which is what good DevOps is. And you didn't really solve a problem in software. You just moved the complexity over to the infrastructure side and moved the problem. And that works for a little while, kind of, maybe. A lot of software engineers went into DevOps. A lot of DevOps engineers are terrible. A lot of them were former software engineers who were terrible at that too, because the complexity is just too much for them. Most people can't do complex tasks. By definition, then they wouldn't be complex. And so by making things, quote, easier or more automated for the bottom end people, what you've done is put a bunch of people out of work, right? And you've taken away the valuable resource of the people who can do complex work and maybe novel complex work and put them towards non-novel complex work. Like maybe you could be a good QA engineer, or you could spend a lot of time sort of helping to wrangle the AI in a similar fashion, but it's still not QA work. And maybe you've got 10 of those people wrangling the same AI, when instead you could have one wrangling a much smaller AI and 9 of them actually QAing some of the software that doesn't work on my cell phone, or QAing OBS, which loves to make changes that are stupid and break my ability to make you videos. And also change my microphone settings for some ungodly, not understandable reason. And instead, they're dabbling in AI so that 4 more people can be out of work, or maybe 4,000 more, or maybe 400,000, or maybe 4 million more people can be out of work. And I have crappy software. And maybe those people aren't employable anymore, although I don't think this is true, but it could be. Maybe those people aren't employable anymore because all the jobs of the complexity level that they could handle are automated and gone. Now, the thing is, no one's doing this. This isn't a rational plan by the Archons or like some lizard alien people who are telling the president what to do, or whatever real weird conspiracy you want to have because you're holding on to your rationality too tightly and don't realize the world's really a dumpster fire and always has been, and most people are completely incompetent. It's a side effect of moving complexity around in the world. And we're moving complexity around in the world, and like, fair enough, like, you have to do that to some extent. We're doing it awfully fast, though. We're not considering, what's going on. I know I've mentioned Uncle Bob Martin before, and yeah, I don't like the guy, but he's right, or at least he was right when he was talking, I don't know, it's probably 10 years ago now, about the software industry and how many software engineers there are, and how half of them have 5 or fewer years of experience, and well, that means you have none. You just don't know what you're doing in 5 years in software. I'm sorry, but you don't. And maybe a few do, but like 4, like actual 4, like single digit numbers type people, because people that are that good are rare. And boy, maybe they should be doing something other than software engineering if they're that smart. Maybe not. Maybe we need them doing software, but probably don't need them at the low level, and they'll rise quick enough because they're smart. Good. And that's not 100% guaranteed because nothing is, but generally that works. But wow, we've got a lot of bad software engineers, and now we've got a lot of bad DevOps engineers, and now we've got a lot of bad security people. And we didn't used to have a cybersecurity industry. It's all new. Why is that? Why didn't we need cybersecurity in the past? That's weird. It's almost as if you design software instead of using the agile technique, or to be fair, bastardization of the agile technique, you design the security into the software, and now you don't need security engineers because security is integrated in the development of the software where it belongs. Because doing security after the fact as an add-on is bad and insufficient and unsustainable. And maybe you've put a bunch of otherwise unemployable people, because technology and AI, into the security industry, and now we don't have enough security professionals of sufficient cognitive ability to do that work. Maybe. Look, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. There's too much stuff happening too fast. I don't think anybody who tells you what's going on is anything but a liar. Maybe they're lying to themselves, and like they're not deliberately trying to mislead you, but also they're lying still. Pragmatist, don't care. Lies are lies. Don't matter how they happen. Makes no difference to me. They're still lies. We have to watch out. We have to figure this out. We have to watch out for it. We have to consider it carefully. We have to think about what this means. Like, do we see the destruction, the degradation, the backwards progress of technology? I do. Talked about this before. Jonathan Blow talked about this. I think he said the end of civilization or something like that. He's got a couple talks on it. They're the same talk basically, but they're very good talks. He's finally observed what I've been observing for years, which is, wow, every electronic software thing I own has a bug that I've seen. Every single one. And the bugs are changing day by day. And that didn't used to be the case 10 years ago. It was getting worse 10 years ago for sure. And I measure things, so I measured it. Fair enough. And it's accelerated at a ridiculous rate. And 40 updates a week for 8 weeks. 40 on 120 apps. 40 a week. 8 weeks. Continuously. 40 a week. 8 weeks. 120 apps. I don't know what to say. Was it that broken? Because it was working. It's not anymore. I don't know. Just saying. It's worth considering this stuff. It's worth wondering about the pace of technology, the wisdom of AI, if it works, which mostly it doesn't, by the way, so we're fairly safe, but, some parts of it are getting much better. But a lot of what's getting better about it is the ability to do SEO. So you can manipulate website search results really well with AI, which is not a surprise, or at least shouldn't be. unless you're really not clued in to how things work in the world. And you may not be. Like, fair enough, some of this stuff is hard. Like, if you haven't been looking at SEO, if you don't understand how the web actually works and what things are available to Google for search engine results, hint, it's not as many as you think, and you can probably figure it out. But then you've got this supercharged AI system that's manipulating that. So now you're telling me that the AI is manipulating the search results, and that's probably can be done at a faster rate than the engineers can run in front of. So they've created an enemy that they can't fight because it's their own thing. Huh. That doesn't sound good. And what if it's really good at marketing? And what if it only takes a handful of very clever people who otherwise would never even have the power, ability, or dream of doing it to outsmart some of the other systems that are working that way, like the one in Amazon? Or worse yet, hijack it and work in complement with it without Amazon knowing. Hint, that's already happening. It's been happening for about 3 years, roughly, by my estimation. And I have to estimate some of this stuff, although my estimations tend to be fairly good. Yeah, this war is already in progress. And this is a war over the use of technology. So you have the people building the technology, this is a fairly small number of people, relatively speaking, versus the people that are using the technology. The problem is the problem of distributed cognition, which I've talked about on my other channel, Navigating Patterns, which is part of the, John Vervaeke talks about this. I don't think it's his idea. Distributed cognition is something you can look up. Basically, 2 minds are better than 1, although 30 minds are better than 2, right? Few hundred minds working towards the same end. The collective consciousness of that, whether they're working together or not, is statistically greater than the 4 smartest people on the planet, or the 10 smartest people on the planet working in concert. Statistically, there's a problem. You want to understand some of this? Nassim Taleb. Once you understand the statistical math around these things, it's like, oh, law of large numbers. Ah, big problem. The large numbers are not the tech archons. There's only a handful of them. They're outnumbered and overwhelmed cognitively by everybody using their stuff. Everybody using their stuff individually isn't going to overwhelm them, but the sum total is. It's a problem. I don't know what is going to result from that. That is a good approximation of chaos, which we're living in now, particularly in the technology industry, but really kind of everywhere. If you want more on the kind of everywhere, you can watch my live streams on Navigating Patterns. I talk about that stuff there. The bottom line is, we don't know what's changed. We don't know what's changing, and we don't know how it's going to change. And there's zero way to predict it, like technically speaking. I can be 100% certain in that, because actually I know a lot of data science. Recently found one of my data science books. Which one is that? Data Mining. Great book. Yeah, I read the whole thing. It's a huge book. Look, at the end of the day, there's no way to predict what's going to happen. There's no way to predict what's happened, and there's no way to predict what's happening. We won't know what happened for a while. So predicting what's going to happen next is not going to happen. It's straight out of Compton. Not happening. We're in a bad place. That place is more likely to get worse than it is to get better. And the worse it can get is beyond anything you can imagine. Sadly to say, part of that is going to be the technology that's making it worse. The ability of bad actors to manipulate the system and use good actors to figure out how to manipulate the system to bad ends is not something people are thinking about. It's very easy to find information on how to manipulate the SEO and understand how to get Amazon's algorithm to help you sell your bad products and make them look like good products. All of this stuff is very possible now and has been being used by bad actors. You can ask me on my Discord how I know. I monitor lots of stuff. Far too much stuff, actually. I have to stop monitoring even all that bad stuff. But basically, it's a problem. The bad actors have been in the system for a very long time. And look, they may have started out as minor bad actors, but they're pretty major bad actors now. And they've been pretty much screwing up the web for a long time. And you didn't notice. I don't know how you could have. And I don't think they know what damage they've done. They know they got what they wanted, but they're not looking at the side effects of getting what they wanted and how much worse that might be. And maybe some of them wouldn't have done it had they known. Who knows? Second order effects are real, though, and they're here. And look, I don't mean to be a doomsayer or end of the world or any of that stuff, but also there's been a change. A lot of people, surprising people, have noticed this shift, this change. And I think you need to be aware. And I think you need to be aware that a lot of it's technology. And the further away you can get from your dependence on that technology, the better for you. So that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to help you with, hopefully, or at least help you be aware of to the extent that you can be. And I hope it is helpful. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's just scaremongering. And if it is, I apologize. But I don't know what else to do. I wanted to share it. I thought I should. Hope it helps. Probably not going to be able to make any more of these ranty videos. I've been behind on navigating patterns. About the only thing I've been able to keep up is live streams. Of course, it's going to be a short month for live streams. My Friday live stream on navigating patterns is going to be my last for this year, probably. Maybe not. Maybe I'll do one end of year one at the end of December there. But these, maybe I'll make one when I'm out traveling next week. I don't know. Maybe I'll make another one before I travel, but probably not. So look, if not, have a good year. Look, leave me comments, likes, all that stuff. This channel obviously doesn't get a lot of traffic. It's not supposed to, but if people are helped by it, or if you think somebody will be helped by it, I'll turn them on to the channel, see what they come up with. And don't be too scared, but also don't be caught unawares. Be prepared for the unexpected. And just don't rely too much on technology, because it's going to be less reliable as time goes on, not more reliable. And Merry Christmas.